Going to call to order the Board of Selectmen, Essex Board of Selectmen meeting for April 13th, 2026. And just a reminder, this meeting is being broadcasted and recorded by 1623. So our first appointment, Brendan, is at 6:05. Should we wait or should we go ahead?
Maybe do some other business?
Okay. So how about we start with yours and do the North Shore Regional IT Collaborative?
Yeah, so the IT Collaborative has been in operation for several years now, and they really help the smaller communities by providing us with state-of-the-art technologies, capabilities, security, et cetera, for a lot less money than we could do on our own. They're working toward going from an MOU type of existence to an intermunicipal agreement type of existence. And it's going to take them a little longer than they thought to get to that IMA stage. So I'm recommending that the board sign an additional 1-year extension to the Memorandum of Understanding, which would take us through, 6 months. 1 second here. Yeah, they want to do it they think they're going to have something in time by the end of June, so it's 6 months.
So are you on this board?
It's not a board,
I mean-
it's a service.
Okay.
Essex is a member, as are several other
So
communities.
is the North Shore Regional IT Collaboration creating the IMA?
Yes.
And then we'll just get told what it is?
It'll come to you for review
Okay.
and potential adoption.
Okay, so, and did they give you any hint as to why it may be taking longer?
Just so many things are happening in the IT sphere that they're helping communities with their technology and focusing on that.
Okay.
And eventually we'll get to the IMA, which is a more durable type of agreement.
Okay.
So is that something you want to entertain? Signature?
Entertain a motion to do an extension on the North Shore Regional IT Collaborative MOU for 6 months.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Probably should have looked up to see if you had any questions, huh? Next, moving on to the tennis court design discussion?
Yes, the Board of Public Works met with some of the project proponents recently and determined, and you have their chairman's note in your packages, determined that the tennis courts should not be built unless the town is willing to go for the more durable option, which is the concrete slab option, which we know will cost in excess of $1 million. They are not interested in a scaled-down design, which would include simply milling what's in place, compacting it, and resurfacing it. They don't feel that that will stand the test of time for the money that would need to be spent.
And that's their final decision? There's no more discussion that they need?
According to the chairman, that's what they decided.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there was any additional board discussion on that, but it's the area in question is an area that they manage as in their capacity as the parks commissioners.
And the remaining money, which is $64.25, will just be returned?
Well, it was gifted to the town for a specific purpose, so I believe it has to stay for that purpose. Perhaps there'll be some, I don't know, we might be able to talk to the organization about releasing it, but as of now, it was for the study of tennis courts at Memorial Park.
Yeah. And the Board of Public Works didn't see that there was anything that needed to be studied or anything further?
They said perhaps the proponents should look at a different location, but again, that money is not authorized for that.
Right.
All right, as it's 6:04, I'm going to ask...
Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry, Ann.
So what do we have out of that money that we spent? Like
$64.25.
No. What is the document or the...
You have a set of engineering plans.
And they don't include the concrete pad as part of the...
It does.
It does.
That's what was originally developed. The discussion was, should we instruct the engineering firm to scale those back to something that would be less expensive to construct. And the Board of Public Works is not in favor of that. The chairman was on a call with our engineer, and so were some of the project proponents to discuss that, and the engineer provided various information points on potential longevity of one option versus the other option, and the pros and cons of both.
Okay, so at this point, there's really no action for us to take, but it lives with the BPW.
Right, the only action for you to take would be to say, yes, go ahead and instruct them to come up with the other design, but then you're spending that money
Yeah.
for a board who is saying, that's not an option that they would.
And that's why this email came out, because he was wondering how much money was left over, and is there other locations that could be looked at?
Yeah, but I do want to note that he did say that I shouldn't say he, should I, or speak of the board, would prefer that piece of land be used for recreation. So,
They did not say that. He only said on behalf of the board, you're saying the tennis court area that's out there now?
yeah. I thought that there was something in some text that said that they would prefer that be retained for
That's not
recreational use.
Not in his thing.
No matter what happens down there,
Yeah.
they're going to have to approve it, whether it becomes parking that's appurtenant to the park, which would be legal,
Yep,
or it becomes some other, something else.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, now that it's 6:05, Billy? We have the shellfish constable to request that the limit on the number of commercial shellfish permits be lowered from its current limit.
Good evening. I'm sure, because there's no secrets in small towns, you've heard that the situation in the clamming industry is not too good right now. There seems to be not any seed around. What few clams we have are being harvested. I've probably got, 15 regular diggers that show up rotating on any day, so maybe you can have as many as 7 or 9 of them. Like today, I only had 5 diggers digging, that's all. And for the most part, they're digging razor clams because there's not enough soft shell. Well, the state says we can have 94 licenses. If we had all 94 people go out and dig on the same day, they'd be the end of the clams in this town.
Yeah, it's not the state, though, it's self-imposed. That's part of the board's regulations.
Oh,
Yep.
okay, I apologize. But in any case, I felt that that number is way too high. And as we speak, we have 21 commercial licenses. We have 8 senior licenses, of which only one of the seniors digs full-time. 2 other ones, one guy digs the first week of winter flats, that's it. And another guy digs only in the warm weather. We have 6 student licenses. I do not know how many recreational permits we have. But once again, with 21 commercial licenses, if you were to lower the rate to 50 or 60, you're not denying anybody the chance to get a license. What this would do is prevent down the road, because if the clams come back, and they usually do, what happens is as soon as the word gets out, Essex says clams, here they come from Rowley and Ipswich and Magnolia and Gloucester, and they move right in, dig your clams, and move out. If you lower the number, this will protect the guys that dig all the time and live here. And that's what I'm really trying to do, protect the regular diggers. So that's where I'm at, and I just want to know what you think about that.
So my understanding is we have a limit of 94. The issued this year so far, we have 24 left. Is that correct, Pam?
No, we have 24 issued
20
of commercial,
Including that one tonight?
yes. And we have 11 senior and 8 student.
Right, the regulations reference the limit of 94 with respect to commercial licenses. That is not taking into account any other type of license. So we have 25, Pam, 25 commercial licenses.
Got my statistics 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
So we're still far off from even 60.
And like
Exactly.
70 that are unused.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I don't like coming in and being asked to make decisions without having any documentation and data. So, I would love to have more data about this before we make any decisions. Also, how do we manage the flats now? I don't know anything about that. What does the town do? What does the state do so that you don't over?
State checks the water quality. The local, the constables, or like in Ipswich, they have a police officer, checks make sure the size is good and then exceed the amount, which is right now is totally impossible, you know? If you really want to see what's coming in, come on down the front beach and when the tide's coming in, and you can see for yourself what they're bringing in. Nobody's near the 250-pound limit. If they get 100 pounds, which is usually razor clams, they consider that a good day. If it wasn't for the razor clams, we'd be out of business. But we're very fortunate that starting from Farm Creek in West Gloucester to Castle Neck River, which is on the Ipswich-Essex line, look at all the creeks that come in that bring fresh water in. Razor clams love brackish water. And that's what's keeping us alive right now is the razor clams.
So there's no sort of fluctuating limits that happen with,
Supply.
yeah, I mean, how does
No, I
that-
mean, what we could do, if you're looking for data, is go back 10 years or so and tell you how many licenses have been issued, say, in the last 10 years. If there's a trend, we'll identify it.
Is there any sort of other management that the town can take on that to protect the local folks? Or, do you know what I'm saying, is, do other towns do any sort of more intense management of that so that you don't over?
Not that I know of. I mean, it comes down to limiting it to a number of
Right.
commercial harvesters. And that's what Billy's talking about.
The other towns have more flats than us. And all our flats are in one basket. So if it rains too much, this entire town is shut down. If Essex Bay is shut down, Gloucester goes to the Innisquam River, which is N9. And Ipswich can go to N4, which is the rest of Ipswich north of the river. And they can also go to Plum Island, which they have a piece of that too. Our eggs are all in one basket.
Yeah.
6/10 of an inch of rain, we're shut down.
So Billy, is there any threat of the razor clams being diminished?
No, because razor clams, unlike soft-shell clams, they can move. And if they're here today, you come back tomorrow, they're gone. Where they go? They move. Just like the hard-shell clams, too.
Yeah. Is there any threat, is there any problem with having too many soft-shell clams?
No, but we never have that, you know?
No, but if you diminish all the clammers, then you're gonna get a potential buildup of clams. Is there any problem with that? Or is that a good thing?
No, if we get it, you know, if we get, like I said, we have two people that are harvesting green crabs. The town very generously matches the state funds, and both these gentlemen pulled over 33,000 pounds of crabs out of the Essex Bay. That's 66,000 pounds of green crabs. They eat everything, including the eelgrass on the banks, you know?
So Billy, the ask is that our limit currently is 94. You'd like to bring it down to 60.
60 would be nice, yeah.
And since we've only got 24, and Pam has looked over it, I think most of our regulars are already got their license, correct? Because right now they have to go into a penalty fee if they didn't.
Pam, you don't have the history for the last X number of
Oh,
years.
no, I didn't.
We can get that for you, so you can consider it at your next meeting.
Yeah, it might be valuable.
Okay.
It's already past the deadline for applications,
Right.
so it's not like this is going to apply to the current set of people. It's going to apply to the next set of applicants.
Right.
So can we ask her some additional things, like, why did we have the 94 in the first place? Like, when did that come about?
Because at a certain point in time, and I have to go back to see when that was, there were a lot more people that had a commercial license in Essex.
And probably a lot more plentiful clams
Yes.
before the green crabs come in.
And so it was capped, I believe, if memory serves, at the number of people that had commercial licenses that particular year.
Okay.
Because the selectmen did not want to see it open up to even more people.
Yeah. And then can you, I mean, I'm interested in what other towns are doing to manage the flats.
That's something Billy would have to go
You
after.
can't compare ourselves with other towns because it's different terrain, different flow rate, different salinity of the water, who gets how much fresh water in and this or that. You can't really compare what they do with us. Like I said, we're all in one basket. They're much more diverse and spread out. And that's just how it works.
And that's the state that controls that.
Well, yeah, well, also, they control it too,
Closures and stuff.
with the numbers, you know?
Yeah.
What are the triggers that would cause anyone to close flat? You know, they only read rainfall, or is that the only?
Yeah.
Rainfall or an unexpected release of sewage, which
Yes,
does
We've
happen,
had that a few times.
So those are the only two levers? that
to my
the town-
knowledge.
Right,
Yeah.
also the Gloucester flats that are open and the Ipswich flats that are open, not in Essex Bay, are open, they're open. Ours are conditionally approved open. One phone call and Essex Bay is shut down. We're in a different status than the Innisquam River or N4 or Plum Island.
Billy, third thing is whether or not we get the red tide, correct? If there's some
yeah.
kind of disease that comes in.
Yep.
I would just like to know what the mitigating factors are in these kinds of decisions, that's all.
It's all made at the state level, and like I said, Billy would have to get you the information from the Division of Marine Fisheries. So I can work with him to get
Thank
that
you.
for the next meeting.
And Billy, how many flats are in, for Essex?
How many flats? I don't
Because
know.
I didn't know whether or not you could close a flat, and hopefully it would,
If any flat gets down there, I'll get shut down.
okay, thank you. That's what I wanted.
So what should we do about this, request for a commercial shellfish permit now if we're not gonna make a decision on anything? Should we?
We're just gonna have to table it till the next, when more information is provided.
Okay.
Well, even if you went down to 60, there's still room for the person, so
That-
I don't know
that's-
if it's consequential, it's up to you.
I mean, my thought would be, yeah, let's bring it down to 60 and get the information. And then if we don't, provide information, we can talk about it, but we don't have to vote on it. It's up to you two. I'm for voting to reduce it, just to get it done and to have it in the books for this year.
It seems like a high number still, but maybe with the data, we might wanna go even lower than that, and we can do that at a subsequent meeting when we have data.
I'd like to-
I'll have it for you on April 27th.
Yeah, I'd love an informed decision.
Does that mean you want to wait to vote until the next? Sure. Okay, so, do I invite Billy to come back on the 27th?
Sure, absolutely, and I'll work with Billy to get the things that you're looking for, so you have all that information in advance of your meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
Could I step in on this? Peter Ferrio, 26 Rocky Hill Road. I think I can add some content.
And that is in regards to the.
Shellfishing.
Shellfish,
Yes.
okay. I'm sorry, can you also put your name on the piece of paper,
Certainly.
just so we have it?
Yep. I had my first shellfish license 60 years ago. And like Billy said, it's almost rinse, wash, repeat. The clamming comes back. We have a flood of non-residents coming in, securing licenses, out there, digging the flats out, and again, we're in the stage we're in again. I believe there's a state statute, Chapter 55. I know in town we have a one-year residency requirement.
We do not.
We do not have a
We
one-year.
do not. That's not constitutional.
Have you looked at the state statute, 55?
Town council has, that came up a number of times in the past.
And what was his finding?
It cuts against the freedom to travel in the U.S. Constitution to require someone to live in a town for a certain amount of time after they actually reside in the town. But I don't think that's what's on the table tonight.
Correct, no.
Well, it goes hand in hand
I'll look.
with limiting
I
licenses.
am going to have to say this is outside of the scope of the appointment, so we are going to continue. If you would like to write an email to Brendan, and that way he has that information, more than happy to read it over.
Okay, to the point, I support limiting licenses, and I think there's other ways to do it.
Okay, thank you. So before we move on, I do see that the tennis people have shown up, and I don't know that they were here when you did your little spiel. Do you want to just do a 5-second repeat?
I think some of them were here. I
Okay,
mean,
Mike, were you here when he did his? Were you here when Brendan? Okay, all right.
yep, and I sent them a copy of what the
Okay, I
chairman...
wasn't sure.
They were at the meeting, and I sent them a copy of what the chairman produced in an email. Okay?
Thank you. We're going to have public comment in a second, and you can make your comment. Let me just get through Brendan's report. So next, Brendan, is the location.
Yep, so everybody probably recalls that the movie Grown Ups was filmed here in Essex. About 75% of the movie was filmed in the town. At that point in time, the movie took possession of the Centennial Grove for a fee from about March through, I think, into the early fall. And that's because so much of the movie was shot on-site. Grown Ups 2 was then filmed, and no part of that was in Essex.
They're going to film Grown
Now
Ups
they're
3.
contemplating. Now they're contemplating filming Grown Ups 3 with a smaller portion of the movie being filmed in the town of Essex. They again would like to utilize the Centennial Grove. At the time we did Grown Ups, the first movie, there was not as a robust of a summer camp in place. There is now, and the movie understands that if there's going to be an arrangement that the selectmen make, they have to make accommodations for the camp. And I think that's the first and foremost thing that we need to discuss. And Chris Bevilacqua from the YMCA is here, and I think he's prepared to give you his perspective on what's acceptable. So Chris, if you want to step up to that mic. And I know, Chris, you've passed out a sheet to the selectmen that talks about a couple of the options.
Yes. Thanks for having me. So it's really, we were approached, I think Brendan had given us the heads up last week that they were interested in using the site. So I just put together just some considerations.
And let me just take one step back. When they initially contacted us, they said maybe 4 or 5 days of filming, and the YMCA could be accommodated by perhaps sending the kids on field trips that would be paid for by the movie production company. They have completely changed that, and they want to use it from June 8th to September 8th. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so our camp season starts June 26th. I talk about that a little bit in the considerations, and runs until the end of summer. So they essentially would be taking the property during the entirety of the summer camp. I just gave you all a little background. I think you're familiar with the partnership with the town and the Y to run Camp Dory. It's been really successful. It's been a great asset to the community. We've been enrolling for summer camps since January. So we are already at the point where we have we're just under 200 children registered already, so which is averaging about 60 to 70 kids a week. We're on pace to have about 100 to 120 kids a day. So that's just to give you an idea of the childcare need that we fill during the summer, and that this camp does for the kids. So we've been in touch with the location manager in regards to alternatives, and one of them that came up was the old Camp Manor property across the lake. I've been in touch with the Gordon Rowan team. They're the ones that own a portion of the property. So my understanding is when the Manor property was sold, it was broken into 3 parcels. One was sold to a neighbor across the street who is developing a house on it. Gordon has the other third, and then the third is directly abutting the Gordon property, is owned by a foundation through Mike Minogue. So I went and I met with Gordon Rowing today, myself and our director of operations, to just look at the property and evaluate whether or not it would be a reasonable accommodation for the program. From a property perspective, again, they explained that we would have to talk with Mike about leasing his side of the property, as well as the Gordon folks about leasing their side. Some of the other considerations to take into place, or to take some of the other considerations to think about, is that we would need the Board of Health, Building Inspector, and Fire Chief to inspect the property. While it's been used for day programs, there's a lot of facilities that have not been used on the property, and they're outdated. So we would need to ensure that they would pass inspection for camp if we were going to run it there, from a safety perspective. If not, we need those brought into compliance by June 1st, just so we could get camp training done. The Gordon College also operates 2 additional programs throughout the summer there. They have so they run as a community boathouse, or a community rowing program as well. So there are folks that own rowing sculls, keep them on the property, and they pay an annual fee, and as a result, they can access the property whenever they want to take their boat out and go row. We would need to limit those hours during camp operations, just to be in line with our child safety policies and make sure that those are adhered to.
That's more than just St. John's Prep and Pingree, I think, who uses
Correct, yeah, so
different than
St.
that.
John's Prep and Pingree, who, they share I think they use the property that's owned by Mike Minogue, they have an agreement with them on that, on him on that side. And they had said that they are not using it during the summer, so we would be able to operate, again, provided Mike agrees to lease. But the Gordon side, they have like a community, a community program that's outside of what St. John's and Pingree do. So we would need to, or Gordon would need to be in touch with those folks to say, hey, hours would be abbreviated this coming summer. You couldn't access the property during the day to take your boat. It would have to be before or after a certain time, which they said they're willing to look at and work with folks on. And then they also have a kinder rowing program that they said they'd be willing to not run in the afternoons, but they normally run it so that we could have our program. But these are losses of revenue for them potentially, and want to make sure that those are taken into account, as well as making sure that we have an adequate space to provide the same high quality experience that we've been able to run at Centennial Grove on this new location. So there's a few dominoes that would need to fall in order to make that a viable space. Again, site manager has been willing to work with us. He seems pretty willing to kind of do whatever needs to be done to make that shift. Next steps for us are to get in touch with Aaron Kirshner at the town, as well as the building inspector, see if we can get them over to the property pretty quickly to look and see if, what would need to be done. And then we have a call at the end of the week with the location folks from Grown Ups 3 to find out what exactly they would be willing to do. I think what's important for us is the partnership with the town has been so successful. We really need the support to make sure that we can continue to deliver this program to the families of Essex this summer, however that shakes out. So we just want to make sure that those families are provided or guaranteed some sort of camp product, because we've already enrolled and we want to make sure that we can continue to deliver that.
Chris, do you have a strong preference for this Camp Menorah location, which does have some complexities, versus possibly the Essex Elementary School, if the production company set up tents and whatever else you needed?
Yep.
Is there a strong preference either way?
Yeah, we would prefer the Menorah property because it's pretty comparable to Dory. The downside to the elementary school is that there's no water access.
Yep.
And that is just a big draw and a big appeal for the families, which I understand, especially during those hot summer days. So we talked about, other options to get water over to this, but it's just, really, it's not feasible. So we're also looking at some other options internally at some of our other camp locations, like in Gloucester, to see if there's room there at that camp if we needed to potentially use that as a location. However, we still need to hear back from the executive director over there. Their camp is pretty substantially enrolled as well, so I'm not even sure if that would be an option.
So Brendan, a couple things. I was unclear whether the production company wanted the entire Centennial Grove area. It was mentioned, the cottage, the pavilion, the parking lot, but not the beach itself. Are they taking that as well? Because
They didn't say that they're taking the beach itself. The problem, though, is if you have that type of commingling of people during camp hours, it doesn't comport well with the rules for the camp.
Plus the equipment,
Right.
Yeah.
the heavy
Right.
equipment.
And stuff moving around the whole
But I
time.
just wanted to mention that, the camp is really important over there, but it's also a resource for the people of the town that they're taking away. And I don't know whether you'd be willing to allow townspeople to use Camp Menorah when you're not using it, or whether the production company should find a place. I mean, I was just thinking off the top of my head, maybe access to the trustees' Crane Beach for Essex residents, something like that, or someplace where they could recreate, because a lot of people do use that.
Though that came up for the first movie, for sure.
Yeah,
And it is a hard thing because they are taking over the
entire
breadth
thing.
of the whole summer. Even, June 8th, it means even the kids after school who would go there after school isn't going to
Right.
be able to do that.
What's in it for us? I mean, so, no, I'm just, do you only ask for tit for tat? We're giving you this,
No.
you come, or do you ask for tit for tat plus?
Yeah.
Oh, you asked for more. I have a whole list.
Well, I have a list too.
Yep.
They, I looked it up, the last two movies, they they generated $250 million off both of them.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. And I think that's why they're going for a third.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that should be
It's
kept
not for
in
the
mind. But yeah, so there's a lot to talk about in that regard as to what the town should be getting out of it.
And even those points that have to be discussed, I assume that the board is in agreement that if there's no viable accommodation for the camp, it's not going to happen. Is that correct?
I agree with that, yeah.
You agree?
It's hard because it's nice to have things fixed in town,
Sure.
and not have to put money out of our pocket. So I kind of,
come
I'm
up
going to say
with-
kind of agree.
They'll come up with a solution, it's just whether or not it's acceptable to you.
Yeah, we have, again, I've outlined some of it in the considerations. Just in terms of using Manure, if we can make it work, I think a lot of it is that we would need the production company to cover the expenses of whatever needed to be done to make sure that it is, again, my interest is in making sure that the Essex families have an amazing camp experience like they always do at Centennial Grove. And so whatever needs to be done to Menorah to get it on par with what we would normally offer, I think it's a reasonable request of the company to do that. And I think, like I said, I think they're open to talking about that. What I want to do is, again, just make sure that we are aligned, that being the Y in the town, in the asks of the production company, and again, ensuring that this camp moves forward, because the last thing I would want is for something to go sideways and have families without a camp resource at the 11th hour.
Yeah, they're already signed up for it, correct?
Correct. We have a lot signed up already.
So you've talked with Gordon, and it sounds like they're on board, but you haven't talked with the other two property owners, so you don't know what they're thinking at this.
Correct. Like Gordon's on board. The folks across the street, it wouldn't make sense for us to use that land anyway because it's across the street.
so it's
But the
only
one,
one of
right, Mike Minogue is the one who's right next door. So I have a contact from the Gordon Rowing folks with his office. So I've reached out, and I hope to talk with them tomorrow. And I guess my concern is with the movie folks. Right now, we've only spoken to a location manager, and I don't think a location manager makes any of these decisions, right?
They take the information and bring it back to the brass, you're right.
Right.
And so I think it's important for that meeting to occur,
ASAP.
for viability to be scoped out, and then I also think it's important for the selectmen to perhaps assign one member right now that can start talking directly with me to the movie production people so that we can keep things moving and come back to the board with a package.
You've already.
I've already
Yeah.
been there and would like to stay on.
Yeah.
You'd
Well,
like to-
well, okay,
Yeah.
how about I stay on and have a backup just in case?
So,
Be happy to back up.
Okay.
when is the first day of camp?
June 26th, but we would like to get in there for June 1st to start staff training and all of the things that we normally do to prep for the
And have you
season.
done a walkthrough at the proproperty yet?
At Menorah?
Yeah.
Yes, I did it this afternoon.
Okay, so there isn't a place indoors, there are bathrooms, there's,
There are yes, but the indoor facilities that we would need to use, they have not been used in a long time. That's
couple
why,
years.
what would be helpful for me is if the town can help us get the building inspector out there with the Board of Health sometime this week to look at those and let us know exactly what would need to be done to get them up to code and ready for camp.
Is that possible?
Either Wednesday or Friday for the building inspector. I'll work on that in the morning
Okay.
with Erin.
And would you be willing potentially to allow Essex residents to use the camp or the waterfront, the property off camp time?
That would be a conversation probably with Gordon and Mike Minogue. We would lease the space just for the time that we would be operating camp.
Okay.
But if there's a discussion, that comes up where the town would need our assistance around some of the discussions, I'm always happy to talk and figure out how we can assist.
Okay.
Okay.
So generally, there are a variety of things that I think are going to be on our list. The board is not going to nail all this down tonight. But there are things such as the actual location fee, improvements to the buildings, like we need garage doors at the cottage garage, we need windows at the cottage garage. Maybe help us out with our restroom project. Certainly leave us with operational HVAC after the movie's over. And we already have those units, but they're not installed yet. Clean up the grounds.
just one of the things, they were talking about in the original movie, there was an addition added on, and so they're looking at adding on the addition is exactly the same spot.
But they're not. They're looking at adding on a faux addition. So if you're in the scene, you're going to see off to the side a set of stairs that look like they go to the next part of the building, but that's it. It's not, no one's even going to walk on those stairs.
It's a set.
It's a set. And then they're going to recreate the look of the part of that building that they have taken down, prefab off-site, and they're going to film that inside the pavilion. They're going to move those modules into the pavilion, and it will look just like the old movie.
But what I'm saying is, he had said, okay, we can still put a door here. And if you're gonna cut out walls to put a door here, it's not faux, it's a door.
No, they'll just
Even
put
if
the
it's-
wall, they'll put the wall back and put the AC that's supposed to go there back.
Okay.
Because it's not going anywhere. It's not
It's a
even
staircase to nowhere.
to nowhere, yeah.
Okay. There's a song about that.
Stairway to heaven at least.
Thing called AI, maybe they could just use AI and not,
Sure, it's going to heaven.
I think one of the things that, if you don't mind me, that I would encourage us to talk with the production company about is, and I kind of put it in the notes here, the amount of financial assistance that we provide to Essex families and the discounted rate that we provide to Essex families to ensure that they can have the camp. If we could talk with the production company about some type of contribution to the scholarship for those low-income families, I think that would be.
so he did say that that is not something production companies do. So we will have to work somehow around that, because they don't do
Okay.
scholarships.
No, but they could directly pay, they could directly pay for someone's fee.
Got it.
That's different
Yep.
than here's a bulk donation, okay? So he can work around that.
Okay.
I was also going to say they should clean up the grounds, the facades of the buildings. Is there any way, let's see. Also, so on your agenda tonight, you have somebody looking to use the Grove for June 13th.
Yeah, I was wondering.
And when we accepted that for the agenda and we accepted their application, there was no notion of a movie. And certainly, I'm sure they've already done their planning and they can't now go somewhere else. And so another thing that's going to have to happen is the movie is going to have to find a way to accommodate that Saturday event. I don't see any other way around it.
They don't want it when they see what's going on.
Yeah, and it may be, it may be okay because it's at the very beginning of their occupation of the site. It's only a few days in. And I did send an email to both production managers earlier today, and I haven't heard back on that topic. But does the board agree that person,
Yes.
you haven't approved it yet, but they certainly did their due diligence to get where they are
Correct.
today?
Yeah, no, I think and as he was saying, it's June 8th when they get here, but that doesn't mean
They're
it's
not,
full
no, they're not.
production. It's
It
just.
won't be.
Right, it's just arriving. So hopefully we can get them to say, yes, 35 cars and,
So I would say, I'll work with Chris on whether we can find something that is good enough to accommodate what the Y needs to do, work with our inspectors on it. Alvin and I will work on our list with the production company. Is there anything that I didn't mention that you want us to just topically, I'm not talking down to details, are there other topics you want to put on the table?
I would love to have a donation to our tennis courts, like of $500,000. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm not sure that
I
that's,
don't think that will either, but why not?
but maybe you can convince him that basketball's not his game and tennis is.
They'll have their own electric meter, right?
yes, they put up a temporary service.
And they'll meter the water that they use.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
all of that. They bring electricians, plumbers, yeah.
Yeah, no, for me, I
And-
just
yeah, any
would,
costs is
ideally
theirs.
would love to see the bathrooms done first, because it would be so good for them not to
Yeah.
have to use.
Well, and I would like to see them, last time they put some credits in the movie about the town of Essex, I think maybe they should do more than that, promote the town of Essex through the movie, maybe with the Chamber of Commerce or some other thing that's more long-lasting than just the movie itself.
That's a good point. Can you ask them to only like use certain vendors so many times? I mean, can you make requirements?
You can
on-
ask them, but it's a private
Yeah, I'm just wondering,
corporation.
like, can you get some,
Last time they came in and they made a point of using locally sourced.
okay, great.
They
yeah,
went to the antique stores for a lot of the props. They like to do that.
Okay.
Anyway,
Great.
And even I remember talking to some caterers who some did lunch, some did
Yeah.
dinner.
Yep.
They were very good.
Okay.
So 15 years ago, is that when it was?
2009.
Yeah,
16.
we charged them 110,000 for the property,
Yes,
and I'm thinking probably closer to $1 million.
Wow.
they're not going to go for that, but okay.
I would say well, what would
You could
they
start
go for?
there.
Yeah, start there.
I know that,
I mean, even if you didn't change, just with inflation, it's gonna be probably closer to 300,000 or 400,000.
it at least doubles every 7 years, and we're a little bit better than that.
Yeah,
So now you're talking about twice, right? So you're at 400, yeah.
yeah.
But $1 million, I mean, we can start there, sure.
Yeah,
Why not?
I would definitely start
You know what,
there.
it depends on how much you want done, like,
How much
I'm
would it
sorry, the
cost
bathroom
build a
needs to be
set that
done.
looks like
All right,
Essex
just
and
one thing you have to realize here,
They'd have to go.
one thing you have to realize here,
Maybe it's cheaper than $1 million.
they're still talking about 4 to 5 days of shooting on that site. So, yeah, okay? Yet they need, what's that?
Why do they need it so long?
Because of all the building they're gonna do.
Ah.
And then all of the takedown they're gonna do. The shooting, August 17th through 21, that's it.
Yeah.
Really?
So that-
Yes.
It was
Even
just
Ed
the-
Sheeran was faster than that.
Even if they just did that, we probably wouldn't have to relocate the Y, but because it's the
That's what we
setup.
thought, and then they said, yeah, we can work around that, and then we said, well,
Do all this.
I guess they kept getting feedback from the people that write the movie and the people in the movie that they really wanted more, and they want to do some kind of recreation of some of the stuff. And
Now, let me just ask you, is there anything for the Chabaco water people, like, that could
Watershed.
help, the watershed people that could help out? I know that they have a lot of stuff. Ouch.
A lot of water quality issues that are happening. That should certainly be on the table. I mean, there was a whole list
He had his list from the last time, right?
from the last time, and some of them, I don't know if they still exist or not, but it was really kind of nickel and diming, 1,000 here and 1,000
yeah,
there.
yeah, and we'll go through all of that, anything that's applicable.
Yeah,
But, having your site set on $1 million plus relocating a camp, I can tell you right now, that isn't gonna happen.
right.
They'll just go somewhere else. So,
Where will they go?
Yeah, we're,
Menorah? Go over to Menorah?
no, they'll create those sets on a stage somewhere,
Yeah.
and they'll film those scenes.
Yeah, it'll be
It's
cheaper.
I think this is probably a nice to have, but not an essential, not when it's 4 or 5 days out of the whole movie.
Yeah.
A lot of the movie's gonna be filmed in Italy, okay?
Oh, really?
So, yeah, most of it.
But I will say that,
Essex or it's?
It'll look like whatever it's supposed to.
doggle.
no,
Yeah.
remember in one of the last ones, didn't they go to Italy? Didn't one of the girls go to Italy? And that's,
Sadly, I've never
I
watched
think
any
at
of
one,
those movies.
either the second or the first, she was leaving for Italy.
Okay.
You
But I
watch the
will
last
say-
frame, though, it does say filmed on location in the town of Essex. I made them do that.
I will say that it's bigger than just what we get at the Grove, because they eat in our restaurants, they use our, last time it rained, he ended up paying money to the school to use the basketball courts indoors. So,
Yeah, there is a lot of ancillary benefit.
Benefits, yeah.
That's not necessarily to the town itself, town government.
Well, thank you for doing all that work.
Sure, so we'll jump on it as soon as we can and get you more information.
Brendan, I'll share the list of what we find out from Menorah in terms of like what we need so you can add it to your
Yeah.
list. The other thing I would just mention is if it's possible, some kind of refurbish, if they're going to be in there doing things, the refurbishing of the basketball court, just because it's starting to crack and
yeah.
I
we
hope
talked
they're
about
gonna
that.
do that.
Okay.
But with screen magic these days, it might look great.
yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Chris.
And Chris, would you be wanting to move the, is it called a Gaga pit?
That can be moved. I mean, we can take it apart if we need to.
I just didn't know if, because I'm assuming the Camp Menorah does not have something like that.
Yeah,
there.
no, we would probably bring that over.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, next we have a discussion of the flag half-staff policy. Essex does not have one presently beyond simply obeying any presidential or gubernatorial declaration for half-staff. I looked at other communities in the area, and that's what most of the communities are doing. Manchester does have a provision that allows the selectmen's discretion in other circumstances.
So I know for myself, I think sticking similar to what other towns are doing, but if we wanted to have a Board of Selectmen discretion, I'm good with that too. I think we just need to decide, like, if the person passes, who's still an employee, not an employee, that may need to be looked at further.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I agree. I think for existing employees or committee members or something like that, you know, board members.
I think that what I'd like for you to each send him what you would like, so that way we can come up with a decision.
Can we just say, can we go with board BOS discretion, add that, and then go with the Rockport note, which I think is good?
The only thing that I was thinking is, again, we had a police chief who had passed away. He's a former police chief. That's why it's kind of like
Yeah, but that would fall under BOS discretion, right?
that.
Yeah, you're saying add both, like do it.
both.
Manchester has a certain, they have a discretion clause, and Rockport has a very limited clause for people that served. You're saying add both of those to the other two that we already honor.
Yeah.
That way we know it comes to the Board of Selectmen and we make the decision as to.
Well, it would be the
don't you
chair,
think-
because you
Don't
can't
you
be the-
think people might be asking like, well, this person was really good on the board of,
I know, that's what my concern is that,
you should lower it for them, you know?
Well, that's the discretion part.
know.
But then it puts you kind of in a difficult position,
Exactly. You
which
did it for him, why not? do
perhaps
it for
why most towns
Just
don't
do
do it. But, I mean, why don't I do this? For the next meeting, I'll put together something that has all that in it. You can discuss it again and
And
then
edit it.
determine whether you want these things or not.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Okay, the preliminary draft of the annual town meeting motions.
so I just want to point out that Annie gave a thumbs up, and that's because her name's not on any of them.
The way it fell, but Annie, is there something you have interest in?
I'm fine with the way it is right now, but I
Okay.
did have some questions about, and I don't know if that was the appropriate time to ask, about the two things that were postponed.
Oh, the water,
Yeah, is that what that was?
I believe so.
So those were 2026,
So, yes.
They were the same, weren't they?
We always have that on there, Annie. So those two articles are talking about, are there any requirements in the FY '26, the current fiscal year budget, that water or sewer has to have a vote on so that they can tap their retained earnings? We do that because we find that in the spring, we sometimes have a water break or a sewer break all of a sudden,
Yeah.
and it happens before town meeting, and there's a way to kind of deal with that.
Yeah.
It's important because you don't want to use general free cash to bail that out, because they're enterprise funds that are supposed to support themselves. Right now, there's nothing on the table, so right now, on the draft that you have, it's suggesting indefinite postponement.
Great, okay. And that's for both of those, the 10 and 12?
Yes.
Perfect, that's all I wanted.
Are there
to
other
know.
comments or questions?
not at this point.
Okay. I will ask the other boards and committees. We use like one name for a lot of them. They might have other people that they're going to sprinkle about, so.
So can I just ask you, included the CPA monies. Is that just to go along with the warrant readings? Or is there,
So what the warrant says is it talks about all the different things you could do with CPA. It's very generic. And then the motion talks about a handout we've been using ever since we had the CPA, okay? And that handout is showing you currently what is set
on the
up
table?
and approved by the Community Preservation Committee. They have already met, and there are no other considerations for this meeting.
Right. Maybe talk to Michelle. I thought she said she wasn't gonna be around, but maybe.
Right, and I'm going to go over with everyone the different readers that are proposed, and the names usually change a few times before we get there. Okay. The final thing on my report is the approval status of the Essex Housing Production Plan. Oh, before I do that, I did give you information on what the overrides might look like, in case you had any question on that. And I wanted to say that there are two items that are still settling. One of them is, what is the full cost of the cameras up at the water tank? Because we're still waiting for some components on that, so that's going to increase. And then with respect to the full cost of what the Apple Street Road project would cost, one of the things that DPW went and got a quote on was a topographic survey, and they want $28,000 for that. But we already have 1-foot contour survey data from the state, and the DPW is only looking to see where the site drainage trends are. They're not looking for anything very specific.
Right.
So I'm waiting to hear back from the chairman of the Board of Public Works on whether we can forego that, because that's $30,000 that would be added in to the ask at town meeting, and I don't think it's worth it.
Okay.
So those two things have not settled yet. The Department of Public Works is still working on final numbers on those.
Can I ask a question about what
Yeah.
you just said? So the water tower cameras, that will be included in the budget requests?
It's in, it's one of the articles.
And then if you don't do the 28K for the Apple Street Road, what did you budget for that?
Well, they're separate articles.
Yeah,
Oh, they are.
two different articles.
You could be
Also,
pulling-
Annie, did you have any questions on general board involvement with the town meeting portion of the override votes? Is there anything you wanted to talk about?
Oh,
But she has 2 points later in the others, right? Are you,
Well, this is when we're talking about the motions, and the overrides are part of the warrant. You can talk about it later if you want, if it's anything you want to talk about.
there's 2 items under other that you wanted. We can either talk about.
Like frequently asked questions or anything like
I don't
that.
know, do we talk about that now or later?
You can talk about it now.
Okay, so I just threw together some FAQs to put on our site because I don't think that we've done that in the past. But because it's me and I cut and pasted from other sources just so that it wasn't me interpreting what my thoughts were on these because that would read very differently. But anyway, these are all verbatim from other sources, and they're all quoted. I think it's good to have these kinds of points on the site, but I don't know what your thoughts are.
So personally, I think this is fine. However, I do believe that I would like the FinCom to just go over and make sure that they're meeting what they are understanding.
It's from their letter in the budget booklet.
That's where this is?
Yeah, it comes right out of the pink booklet.
There's no
Okay.
originality.
And the
Yeah,
other
but I have the
stuff-
same concern.
The other stuff is coming from the Mass Municipal Association.
Right,
So they already wrote this and published it in the booklet.
yeah.
And then the MERSD thing is from the budget booklet as well.
Yep.
And there's a link to the MERSD budget there. And then just some other logistical information.
Yeah, as
Okay, do
long
we
as
have to
this is-
vote to put this on a website?
It's not anything I would do without the support of the board, so it's up to you.
I still would like to digest it.
Sure.
And I think yes. I mean, it's nothing drastic. It's not going to be liable. I mean, we're not going to be in trouble if we put it there.
Right, April 27th is closer to the meeting, but that's when people tend to really tune in, so. It's up
Yeah,
to
I
you.
mean, my only concern was the bullet points about, why we're having overrides, and that's from this booklet.
It
so
is.
I'm comfortable with that, because all the rest of them are all, from some other source that's official.
So could we make a motion pending Alva's approval?
You can, yes, and then it could go up quicker than that, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that way it can be on the meeting site sooner.
And just so you know, 2 residents have set up an override committee, and they're not gonna do a site, so we can't link out to them, we wouldn't probably do that anyway, but they will link to this.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, so do you want to vote as a board to put the FAQs up?
I make a motion to approve putting the FAQs on the town meeting page, contingent on Alva, the board chair reviewing with Brendan and the FinCom.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yep, now on to the housing production plan. The plan was pretty much acceptable to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, because after the community of Essex, or the town of Essex, approved it, and that was the Selectmen and the Planning Board, it had to have state approval before we can implement it. There were several things that they mentioned that need to be addressed. The personnel at the Metropolitan Area Planning Council have looked at that, and they've provided to you what they think the changes should be. And if you're in agreement, they can make those changes, send the final plan back to the state, and where it will be approved. And the state is also asking for an official letter of submission from the board, which I have prepared as well.
So my concerns were they're looking for specific sites. Well, some of these sites, we kind of went, oh, look, there's a site. Nobody talked to the owner, so we hate to put something like that, but they're asking for specific sites. And then the other one is the regional collaboration, to actually name a regional collaboration again. So my question was, are we liable to use those? What's the issue? And if I'm not mistaken, Lisa did agree with me as far as, yeah, it is kind of odd to put specifics in when we haven't got a plan to do,
Anything.
But, so John was okay with it? Is it John?
John said that it is not binding in any sense.
Not binding.
And he doesn't feel that if you leave it out, he doesn't feel you're going to get approved.
Right.
Wait a minute, what?
The three sites.
If we leave it out, we would not?
You will not get approved.
Okay, but did we provide any additional information, or is that
It-
something?
It's all laid out in the first part of your handout. The requested changes are as follows. Do you want to see this?
You kind of have to
It-
do
it
what
is
they
in your-
tell you. I mean, they're very.
You won't get it, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why, my feeling is we should approve it, but I am still apprehensive.
John felt that the reference to specific sites and the other information that they're looking for is typical, and it's not binding. It's not anything that the town has to set out and do. It's just has to be in there as possibility.
I guess my question was, do we have that information to provide them?
Yeah, this is the information.
Okay,
That's
great.
what the
So-
changes, it's,
So we're ready to go.
yeah, if you say so, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to accept the adjusted HPP information, including specific sites and listing of a collaboration for addressing housing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And you already had a copy of that letter and it's signed?
I don't think I signed it.
Okay, we should do that.
That's it, right?
Yep, that's it. And that concludes my report for this meeting.
I have some questions. I'll move this to the front so it's signed. Sorry, because I wanted to check on a couple of things, and that is, so the fuel depot, I still would prefer every piece of equipment in every vehicle to have the, what's it called, RF something?
RF tag, yep. That is possible. It may but not be something that you can do all in 1 week,
Right,
but I am of the mind that if the departments that need to do it focus on one vehicle at a time, maybe it takes a week to do a vehicle, when they have...
Get a new port put in?
Well, in many cases, if they're concerned about the connection to the onboard data port of the vehicle,
Right.
it can actually be wired, it just needs to be wired for power. It's not going to have as much information from the vehicle that goes into the fuel depot, but it basically just needs to be powered up so that when they put the nozzle in, it handshakes with the thing that's on the vehicle and says, this is the vehicle.
Yeah.
So we can get around that. You know, if the concern is we don't want to plug into these ports, which the police, it's not going to be possible.
Right, they need them.
Plus, for instance, the police they already have a radar in there. Now, you could do a splitter, but that gets kind of complicated. They also have, you got to get that wire through the holding cage that's in the back of a police cruiser. So it's more complicated. It's not anything we could just bang out car after car, but there's got to be ways to do it, especially if you do what they call the analog connection, which is basically just a power connection to a fuse. It doesn't affect the computer diagnostic.
I mean,
I-
somebody
it should-
could come in with their own car and the police cruiser and fill the other car.
Still two
with
car,
blood.
I mean, not that
That's
they're
not
gonna do
happen.
that, but at the
That's
same
not gonna
time,
happen.
I think that we should make sure that we're doing everything possible to do it right, so that nobody can do
Right.
something.
And I have checked the view of the camera. The camera can clearly see the pad. If you ever had a question, Mandy says that it writes over itself every 7 days. So if you ever had a question and you came up, you know, in a reasonable period of time, we could check exactly what was going
So
on.
my thought would be that if we can't get all the vehicles and all the equipment, then we look at it daily, but who's gonna do that?
Yeah.
That's one more job
Yeah.
that you or somebody would have to look at to make sure Annie Cameron didn't pull up and get her car filled.
Right. So at this point, I'm continuing to encourage each of the departments to slowly work on it. And as a car goes online, we take the ability to use codes for that car offline. It's pretty simple.
Okay, so then my next question was in regards to the sewer betterment. We were talking about doing a public forum. I know Mandy gave us some dates in end of May.
Yep, so
May
she's,
13th.
May 13th now is what they're recommending.
Oh, okay.
But nothing back on that to confirm?
Yeah, it's just up to the selectmen now to see if you can make it.
Oh, yeah.
So if it's good for each of the three of you, we'll plan on that.
That's the evening?
Yes.
Yeah. that works
I
for me.
I would like to see us do early evenings so that it's all age groups.
Okay, what time?
No later than 6.
Okay. We'll get that going.
Here?
Yeah, we can do it here.
And you were driving that meeting?
Yes, and we're going to try to get, or we will get 1623 to cover it so we can get more participation.
Okay, the last thing I have is in regards to, we have a open space meeting coming up. So my question was Castle Neck River project that they're doing, which is now gonna make like a tiny little pocket park, no? Yes?
It will, because you'll have the riverbank, a nice place to look at the river and watch stuff go
So
by.
my thoughts are between that and also the little beach on the end of Redgate, whether or not these should be included with the information for the April 16th meeting for the open space. Because they showed some of our other pocket parks, and I just thought, let's make sure we include all of them.
So Redgate and the new opening of the Castle Neck. Okay. I'll get that to them.
Good idea.
And the other thing is, I just want to make sure that I know that Downriver was talking about looking to make some changes there, but I'd like to.
Well, they can't make any changes on the town property without permission from the town.
Correct. That's why I'm saying.
Initially, it's going to be,
He left as asphalt.
yeah,
probably
and
where it
people,
is
and
now.
people are going to park there.
Yeah,
But they can't
there's-
exclude
there's a
anyone.
There's a dirt area now that's at least 50 feet, right, down to the edge of the opening.
I don't know if it's quite 50, but there'll be a barrier and then there'll be,
Yeah.
yeah. And
And the
there,
land to the right is private already. It belongs to somebody. It's not town.
Right.
So it's really, it would be a tiny pocket park, but again, I just wanted,
plus on the Ipswich side of the old culvert, they pulled out giant stone blocks, and Ipswich is going to distribute those on both sides. So that, benches, yeah.
nice. Okay, that's all I had for that. So at this point, I am going to take public comment. Again, public comment, you want to make sure you speak into the mic, and if you haven't written your name on the sheet, please do so.
My name is John Bediz, 34 Rocky Hill Road. There's a group of us that have been walking through with the planning board the Essex Park subdivision for a housing project of 36 to 38 homes. And I wanted to just alert you to the fact that we have grave concern about the financial feasibility of the developer in doing this project. And we would like to have, we would like to encourage the town, and I'm not sure exactly how to do this because I'm not sure that you have discretionary money to do this, but there really needs to be a due diligence of this developer to do a comprehensive study and investigation and audit before we enter into any kind of binding agreement on this project. It's a lot of money, and we believe that, and this is why we need a study, we need to find the facts out here. We believe that the developer isn't well financed at all, and if something happens, the town's going to end up coughing the bill up to repair it. So we just want to bring this to your attention. We'd like to get any ideas that you have in how we would do a due diligence or how the town would do due diligence. I know that the only two boards that have any kind of discretionary funds is the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board.
Don't they have to put up a bond?
They do. That's typically what happens. There's not vetting of an applicant by any community, put Essex aside. A bond, the process provides for a bond so that if they do fall apart, the community can pick it up again and bring someone in to
That would be
complete.
terrific. If there's,
It's already there. That's part of the process.
do you know the extent of that bond? How big?
Whatever the general laws prescribe, I don't know it off the top of my head, but that's what
Pretty
gets done.
significant,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And you believe that would cover any unforeseen?
That's the intent. That's how it works, yeah.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's state.
Yeah. It's part of, I believe, in our subdivision rules and regulations, which are authorized by state statute.
Does that help?
That does help. I didn't realize that, so thank you.
Can we have details on that? Do you mind?
Yeah,
just-
I'll get that.
I have some comments as well.
Peter Ferrio, 26 Rocky Hill Road. John asked me to come up to share some thoughts on this. With regard to the developer, and it's a couple nice young kids trying to hit a home run in Essex. We found that their places of business, there's two named. One is a UPS store in Glastonbury, Connecticut, and one is a single-family home, not in a particularly nice area, at 1535 Main Street in Glastonbury, Connecticut. So we have concerns about that. And Brendan, I understand the bonding, and the bonding is to bring the development to a conclusion. That's roads and things of that nature. But it still could leave a hole. Now, these developers recently purchased the land at the end of December after they got the initial permit. I believe that it was funded through private capital. I know they've done business with ROC Capital, of which one of the principals has about $300,000 to $400,000 in mortgages out. The other has about $4 million in mortgages out. So they're clearly not qualified, and I understand the bonding piece and addressed that with Amy from the town council's office who's here. But it still leaves the town in somewhat of a mess if they proceed in this. Now, one of the things that's really bothersome about this is the purpose of an OSRD is to secure open land. However, they're permitting it without any security of the open land or in the open space. It's a concern from a couple perspectives, and it was brought up in town council, town planner, and the planning board aren't sure where the commitment has to be made. In other words, Valerie, the town planner, said, well, after they permit or build 15 homes, and town planner said, well, it's a discretion of the planning board. I think that maybe after they get a couple of building permits, it's gone all over the map. But someone on the planning board did read the bylaw, and it really has to run in parallel with the permitting. There's no reason to permit this. And I know it's outside your purview on the permitting of this, but it really has to go hand in hand. We're going to have a development take place, and we're not going to have the open space and the conservation restrictions on it. So again, John and I have been working on this. He asked me to come and support his statement. It's very valid, and I am going to ask the question that you don't have to answer, which was sent to me in a letter. What town committee or board will represent the citizens of Essex? Because quite frankly, the planning board isn't representing.
The planning board consists of 7 elected officials. That's their role.
Well, again, the question was posed to me, and I'll pose it again, because anyone at those meetings will say, geez, when are we going to get representation? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it, Peter.
Good evening. Janet Carlson, 24 Apple Street. I have several questions and comments pertaining to the letter I wrote to you about the DPW request to put a pile of recycled asphalt on 30 Apple Street. So my questions are, where is this pile of recycled asphalt currently? I believe it's at Centennial Grove.
Correct?
Where did this wrap come from?
From a road project on Bridge Street in Hamilton when they ground the road down.
And why does it have to be moved from Centennial Grove?
Because the Board of Public Works prefers not to have it there in the Centennial Grove parking lot. Even though it is allowed in that location, they feel out of an abundance of caution, they don't want it that close to the wells. That's their own choosing. There's nothing improper about it being in that location.
So there is the risk of contamination, of leaching from recycled asphalt. And as you know, I did some research into that. I think the question is, why put 30 Apple Street at risk? And the Essex River watershed with toxic heavy metals like lead, cadmium, zinc, and with carcinogenic particles called PAH. So that really became a concern to me, and I reached out to a scientist whose name is Marty Mulvihill, and he's the founder of the Berkeley Center for Green Chemistry. And he wrote this to me in part, and I thought it would be good to share it with you as you consider the DPW's request. He said, despite decreased mobility, RAP will likely leach zinc and cadmium, which is highly toxic, and lead, and small amounts of other hazardous contaminants. Marty cited a Brazilian study from 2021, which I can leave with you if you'd like to see it, and it shows high levels of the mic just cut out, high levels of toxicity to aquatic creatures from RAP. He said, and I quote, "I don't understand why a city or town would condone dumping RAP in a field. Road contractors should be responsible for RAP waste management, and the city or town should enforce protections for human health and the environment. RAP should be responsibly reincorporated into roadbeds or disposed of in a dump with proper barriers and leachate monitoring." I also want to ask, somewhat rhetorically, what if residents decide at a future town meeting that we'd like to keep 30 Apple in agricultural use, as farmland, for example? Why would we want to contaminate the soil? The town has invested so much time in preparing for rising tides, like with the hazard mitigation plan. Is there an updated wetlands delineation for the area so that the Concom jurisdiction can be formally evaluated? Has that been done?
That is part of the Department of Public Works ask at the town meeting that's coming up. They would like to have a wetlands delineation and a river buffer delineation done. Right now, the location of the roadway is going to be outside of both those 100 and 200-foot buffers, and any temporary storage of the RAP until the road gets built will also be outside of those buffers.
Yes, but I understand that the slope down to the river and the wetlands is, and the changing floodplain with rising tides is a concern, especially considering that the field is lowland and the town has been concerned with floods. I'm also wondering if the planning board has received a project plan for this proposed secondary access road. I know with the OSRD, there's been all the wetlands delineation and ANRAD, acceptance by Concom, all of that. And it would seem wise to do the same thing beyond,
Right, there's no requirement to do so. It's akin to a driveway. And if it's outside of the resource area buffers, there's no requirement to do anything of that nature.
And yet it would seem kind of arbitrary not to treat 30 Apple to the evaluation of sensitivity of the environment if you're doing that for
Sure, it's a policy decision that the selectmen will have to make. I spoke to the solid waste people at DEP. If RAP is put on that property, especially if it's outside both buffers, there's nothing in the DEP's eyes that's wrong with that. From a policy perspective, the selectmen can determine whether they think they want to go forward and do that.
So I reached out to someone at DEP that I know because I'm aware that the DEP has taken that position. And the response I got is that, quote, "We don't typically consider asphalt as a pollutant because it is everywhere, and legally that would be too problematic since roads go over streams and wetlands, and asphalt is basically in every environment." So it's their legal and pragmatic position. And we know that it's been, the DEP, like the EPA, have been gutted, castrated. So that's why I went to some scientific websites.
So Janet, I appreciate all this. Is there any additional steps you want to give us? Because I really feel like we have to make a decision on this when we, if we're going to do a further study after the town meeting.
Yeah, you either don't put it there, you put it there, which is allowed, you don't put it there, or you come up with some kind, but a study would be very involved and very expensive.
Right.
So it's a
Not
policy
showing
decision.
you anything.
No, it's a policy decision.
Right.
And the reason, the thought for the road is because if the bridge goes out on Landing Road, then we have no DPW.
Landing Road doesn't have a bridge. That's a roadway over a culvert. And I've heard from 2 different construction experts that the culvert is in excellent shape. It is well high above high water, and you can see from the water that high water is just much lower than the roadway, and I doubt it's at risk. I don't see the rush.
It is considered a bridge. It is considered a bridge.
And
We're
yet I've
having
been
it
told
studied.
it's not a bridge. I don't know if you can tell me who considers it a bridge, but construction.
Engineers, we have money from the state that's actually studying the 3 town-owned bridges right now. That's a bridge, according to engineers. And the concern is if there was a hurricane that swept through or something like that, where there was a surge and you lost that one bridge, that's why, that was the reason given at town meeting to purchase 30 Apple Street
I understand.
in the first place.
And I'm
I
almost
understand.
positive, in my 23 years of living here, there was a time that the dump was closed because the bridge had water to the top and they didn't want people going over it.
That I don't know. And I'm not here to advocate one thing or the
Exactly.
other. I'm just showing you, or I'm just recounting what people said when the town went and took the vote to purchase the property.
Yes, I fully understand that. I happen to think that the road through 30 Apple could be a dirt road. Public safety vehicles can drive across the field as it is. But apart from that, I just want to say that I certainly don't think anything should be decided before town meeting in May, and certainly should not put RAP on the field before decisions are made at town meeting. And it's public land. It's not like the OSRD, which is private land. And this public land, we should have a say in. We residents should have a say in what we want to do with it, instead of allowing for this constant little chipping away, project after project, of our landscape and our
Okay,
environment.
at
Thank
that
you.
point, I'm going to stop your comments. Thank you. We take it into consideration.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Peter,
It's on a completely different topic, and I'm not, with this one, not here to be a thorn, but a help. I've met with Chief Shamshak regarding the potential of establishing an Essex Waterways Committee, whether it be under 41M, all for the purpose of helping with generating revenue, but the main priority is to take care of the Essex River, which we haven't. It's town landing management, all the things that'll come under the harbor master's responsibilities. He's embraced it, but he also said that he works for the Selectmen, so it had to get the Selectmen's blessing.
It may also require a town meeting vote, depending on what the construct is that you're thinking about. So that would be a precursor step.
Yeah, it would be at your direction, whether it's informal or formal under 41M. So I just wanted to put that out and share that information. And the chief embraces it. You can talk to him about that.
will do. Thank you.
Hello, Mike Stroman, 17 Maple Street. I just, on behalf of the interested group in the tennis court restoration project, we just basically dropped in tonight to stay abreast of communications that existed between the Board of Public Works and Board of Selectmen. And thanks to Brendan's spoiler alert email this morning, I'm aware of the position they took, and I understand from tonight's update that that's where they're coming from. They're looking for a slab, and we will continue to pursue any future possible design considerations with the Board of Selectmen, Board of Public Works, and leave it at that. And perhaps keep you update, you'll be abreast of what's going on with that in the future. Certainly would endorse Annie's motion to put tennis court funding on the wish list with the movie people, along with everything else. So
They might want it up there though, Mike.
that's fine.
Okay.
Get it done. We'll see.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody online want to speak? Okay, thank you. Not hearing any. Moving on to other business. Okay, I'm actually going to move on to licensing so that we can sign those while we continue with other business. So I'm going to take a motion for, to entertain a motion for the common victualler license as listed.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm going to take a motion for the gravel permit as listed. Entertain a motion for the gravel permit, sorry.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm going to entertain a motion for the one-day license for entertainment for the multiple listed.
So moved.
Second, but that's given that, Brendan, you've communicated with them about the June 13th date and the,
Yeah.
Correct, contingent on,
Yeah, the board has indicated that you want that event to happen regardless of how the movie has to work around it.
thank you.
and same for the,
All those in favor?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Aye.
Yes, aye.
Entertain a motion for the one-day wine and malt license as listed, again with the contingent on the June 13th date.
So moved.
Second?
Aye. All those in favor?
Aye.
And let's see, motion to entertain a motion for the gasoline fuel storage permits as listed below.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And for entertain a motion for the commercial shellfish permit as listed.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm gonna keep these for me. Okay, moving back to other business. Oops, wrong page. Going to start with, entertain a motion to approve the weekly warrant in the amount of $139 $1,581.89.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approve the minutes, to entertain a motion to approve the minutes for Selectmen meeting on March 23rd, 2026, open meeting.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, sorry.
Okay, so this next one, Annie, you had requested that, consider whether the board would support the 2 override articles on the May 4th, 26. I will, sorry, it's a hard name to spell. I have some concerns about the board taking a position of supporting overrides. I think in my world, how I vote is my decision, and not have an arbitrary just voting for it. I did ask the town clerk whether or not the thoughts on that. And she did say, now this was more for the school because of that email we got. She did say that I would caution anything expressly telling people or appearing to try and influence people on the vote specific. And I can support that they're on the article, and I can support that both the town, FinCom, and the school did a lot of work to get to the numbers. And we appreciate that, but I don't know that I can take a position as a Board of Selectmen of saying I support the override.
So is there, Manchester Selectmen gonna sign it as well, since the, elementary school is part of that justification and rationale?
This is separate from the building process. Like,
I
I
mean-
think we should be really clear that this is a different level of support. I mean, here's how I view it. This is a leadership question, right? About we're asking voters to vote on 2 override articles. When I look at the FinCom letter, it says 2 specific overrides are recommended by the committee. So I don't know if that means supported by. I don't know what that means, but I know that I want to look at the leadership of my town to know if they are supporting the things that they're asking me to vote for. And we're asking for 2 specific budget requests. And I think that it does help voters to decide. You're bringing this before me. Do you endorse it?
Was this a,
We got to the,
we don't have a hard copy, do we? That was an email today? When did that come
This, the FAQ, it's in.
The FAQs I just handed you.
Yeah, the FAQ, right,
Yeah.
but there's
Yeah,
I saw a separate letter.
That
We
was
got a-
something else.
that was separate.
We don't have a
okay.
response on yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
That
we
was
were
the,
talking about.
that was the
Well,
superintendent asking you a
I
question.
don't think you can even go there if you don't
Right.
have a positive vote from this board,
Right,
right?
yep, okay.
and that's where I just feel like it's to me, the school committee needs to say, and here's the why that these overrides are needed, and the town person, the resident, has to say, oh, I agree with that, okay, I can say yes to that. It shouldn't be the Board of Selectmen that says, you should say yes to that, because we support it. That's where my concern is. And I know back in the day, when Ralph Mattson, how did he say his name, was the moderator. he used-
Mattson?
Mattson, used to require the FinCom. Well, the FinCom did their work, and so yes, they support what they've done and what it come out with. That doesn't mean they support the override or the amount, because the departments provide that. So personally, I'm not gonna vote for this, because it's
For
not.
either of them?
It's not that I agree or disagree with the overrides, it's my decision at the time of voting that I vote.
Okay.
I think that I'm comfortable with supporting the overrides. I don't think we're telling anybody to vote. It's just that's what we think needs to happen in the town.
Yeah.
You know, and you can vote however.
You can vote, I
People can
will,
vote however they want, but I think as myself, as a Board of Selectmen member, that it's important that we have these overrides occur.
Okay, so can I make a motion to, do you want to do them each separately, or do you want to do them
No.
together?
Do them together.
So motion to approve, not The motion to endorse the 2 override questions on the town meeting warrant and election for May of 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Abstain. I mean, no.
You have to call the vote.
Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Great.
So by majority vote, the Board of Selectmen endorses the overrides.
Yeah. And I guess my question, Brendan, for the Finance Committee is, is the language in their letter that says 2 specific overrides are recommended by the committee, does that mean that when the town moderator says, do you support these? Is that what that means? Or is
I
it
believe,
just
yes.
recommended is bringing it forward? Do you know what I mean?
I believe so. Or they would have said that we're against this, and they would have provided to you a budget that had different components.
Okay. Okay, because I don't want to just assume, right?
Well, I can get that from the
Yeah.
chair directly, if you'd like.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, the next item, again, is, this one is, Annie, you brought up for holding a town meeting informational forum on the budget articles. And again, I'm concerned with this. We've been having, the school had over 7 budget meetings. We've had a collaboration meeting, that all of these are being recorded. I think going forward, maybe next year, because we have a meeting on the 27th, and we have a board meeting on that night, so it's going to be a busy night to begin with. But maybe going forward, making sure that that meeting that we invite the FinCom to, we make that an open forum that we put early in the night and make sure as many of the public is here.
You mean May 3rd or 4th, whenever?
I'm talking next year, not this
Next
year.
Why could we not have a specific time on the agenda that's just for answering questions? Ask the board, or ask the FinCom to be here, or to have some representatives here to kind of just answer questions that people might have about those 2 override questions.
So isn't that
Well,
what town
just-
meeting's about?
Yes.
Isn't that,
But I don't think that town meeting is, I don't like when you go to a town meeting and you're asking questions that you should know answers to prior.
That's how town meeting is set up, though. I mean, you have the opportunity to learn about stuff in 1,000 different ways. And this is just for the 2 overrides, or it's for all the articles?
I think it's about the 2 budget questions. And
well, they're all
the
budget
reality
questions.
is,
Well, there's multiple budget articles. You mean the 2?
the override question, or you could
Okay.
ask about budget. I mean, there's 4 budget I mean, you could have the FinCom speak to any of them. I don't think that this
And that's-
committee is well-versed in
What committee?
in the Board of Selectmen, in working on overrides. We've never had one, except for last year,
Right.
when you took no position. So I'm just saying, it is new territory that you've not had these kinds of meetings, but it is valuable for residents to be
Only
able to come.
valuable for who shows up and who's going to show up. Is it going to be 5 people? And then that still means nothing because it has to be done on the town meeting floor. That's what we are as a town meeting, so that every voice who's in the room can get up and speak.
Yeah, I don't like that direction, because that won't just be, soon it won't just be for overrides, it'll be for something that somebody doesn't like, or something somebody really likes, or whatever, to have these informational meetings.
I would much rather it be where it actually is before the warrant comes out. I mean, because the warrant come out so much earlier this year than it has in the past. And I think that, yes, it's probably something that we could do when the FinCom is here, and that's what the meeting's dedicated to, is going over every budget item and making sure we communicate out to the public that it's an open forum, that we want them, a public forum we want them to be a part of.
As part of their regular business.
It's
Yeah.
part of the regular business.
Yeah.
I don't know how sharing information with voters is ever a bad idea, or having dedicated time to answer questions and being accountable is ever a bad idea. But if you don't want to do it, we don't have to do it. But I think it's good to have times that you said, we were here at that time. We used to do meetings downstairs where you had an open question time. People could come down to the library and just ask questions about the building project or the override, you have to be I think it's a good idea, because then people can say, well, I didn't know anything about it. Oh, yeah, well, there were plenty of opportunities to come and ask questions.
And I look at it, we spend an awful lot of money to have every one of our meetings recorded. The school committee has the same thing during that, but, you know, both during their regular school committee and their budget. It's not that I'm trying to hide anything, it's just that who's gonna be here? Who's gonna get the communication out?
Okay. Do we want, okay, that's fine. You're not interested?
No.
Great, let's move on.
All right. But Brendan, can we task you with looking at next year? That meeting when we have the FinCom come in to sit with us is really communicating out that.
That's when
Wait.
they've done all their work and they know pretty much where they're at.
Correct. Okay, so next one is to authorize Doug Kritz to harvest the hay at the town-owned field at 30 Apple Street. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. To consider a request to allow a private event to utilize the dirt area behind the Memorial Tennis Courts for parking on Saturday, June 13th, from 1:30 to 6. So I will say that high tide's at 10:45 in the morning, so this is an afternoon thing. I mean, did he say how many parking spaces he'd need?
A lot.
I think, yeah, it was pretty substantial, and at that time, you might have both a sporting event
I know.
and people with trailers trying to use that space, so I'm not sure it's,
Or you could have nothing
if it rains, yeah.
Right, that's the hard part, or you can have nothing. And we don't really, so I had actually suggested Centennial Grove, but even Centennial Grove, the movie people are gonna be there.
The wedding will be there that day.
Well, the wedding only has 35
That's what
cars.
this-
That's
that's what
why I'd
this-
asked how
All
many
right,
cars.
yeah.
Right, you said, yeah, she sent me an email saying 35 cars. But I would say that we're not gonna approve this. They may have to go to a private.
I think he was already starting to look at
I
alternatives.
mean, we could allow it if it's empty that day, if it's a lousy day and nobody's boating
But
and
he's
nobody.
got a party.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if he wants to pivot at the last
But
minute.
then you're also adding, right now, we're trying to carve out the wedding in the time that the movie might be there. I
Right.
don't know that we should add things
Correct.
Right.
when the movie should be there, right?
Right, yeah.
So I can just tell him that it's not gonna work out.
Okay, so the next
I
one.
gave you some names of places that maybe he could reach out to the school as well.
So
And we
that's-
said that, and he is doing that.
He
Yep.
isn't?
He is doing that, yeah.
I think that would be an ideal location, and closer.
And enough spaces.
Okay, consider a request to utilize the Field of Dreams for a wiffle ball tournament as a fundraiser for a local family in need. I'm going to take a motion.
So moved?
Second?
I should add that it's to waive the field fees also.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And so that's a date to be determined. The fields are not gonna be used by the movie, but perhaps they do it in the fall, and it's okay. But we wanted to at least get the board's idea of whether that's something you'll support, and it sounds like we have that, so we'll work it out.
Yeah, it's hard to take a vote for something like this when we don't have the date.
Yeah, it'll just be coordinated.
We'll
around
coordinate it,
whatever
yeah.
Is happening there, because there's Little League and, you know, summer stuff and
Yep.
everything else, so.
Yep.
Okay, I am, consider whether the town council should prepare a legal memo with respect to the open space residential development proposal known as the Preserves at Essex concerning possible health, safety, and welfare aspects of the proposal at the request of a resident.
So this came up at the planning board's public hearing recently on this development. And there was a discussion at that hearing about those values, public health, safety, welfare, And those things are generally part of the bylaw, the zoning bylaw. Town council explained at that meeting that the zoning bylaw part of the planning board's consideration of this proposal has already passed in the form of the granting of the special permit, which was not appealed. All that's left now is the subdivision control regulations, and those do not have similar language. So town council boiled it right down for, even for the person that was asking for this, at the hearing, and said, at this point in time, so long as they meet all of the regular standards, the only thing that will cause a problem under subdivision control that's defensible in court is the failure to accommodate the turning of a public safety vehicle, which the fire department has already said they're fine with. So you could do this, but it's going to cost you money, and it comes down to whether or not you want to paint that picture for the town, although it's not really on point. It might be on point for the next time something like this comes up, when we are talking about a matter of the zoning bylaws. But for this particular project, it will have no bearing on it.
Or beyond that.
Correct.
I don't really need, I don't want to spend town money if it's not needed, and it's already been pretty much beyond that point.
Yep.
And I didn't understand, like, health and safety, what was actually being looked for, meaning, what?
What was the health?
They were
and safety?
concerned about the known polluted area that was on an adjacent property that migrated, I guess, a little bit onto this property. And does that have some kind of bearing on whether the thing should be approved or not? They were concerned about septic system discharge within a certain distance of the river, things of that nature, stormwater. But all of these things, and wetland impacts, all of these things have their own arbiter. You have the Conservation Commission for the Wetlands and Rivers Protection Act. You have the Board of Health and Title V, the State Environmental Code for the septic systems, and you have the DPW and the Conservation Commission for the stormwater. And all of that has to be designed and developed in accordance with standards.
So even under, if the bylaw, that doesn't come into play, those issues that they brought up don't come into play, because there are other arbiters to.
That's what I would say. Even if we were at a point where we're within the bylaw and still under its jurisdiction, I think that comes down to things that are much more egregious. Hey, don't let something happen that's not within the confines of what the state and the town have predefined.
Right.
But there's nobody from this developer that's saying that they don't want to respect those standards.
Right.
That's why we have standards. So it's really hard to understand what they're doing anyway that would not be respecting those things that are listed in the bylaw.
Yeah.
Certain people have their own opinion on whether those controls and those standards are adequate, and perhaps they've seen other cases where they think that those controls weren't enough. I don't know, but the town proceeds based on prescribed standards. That's what we do.
May I ask a couple questions? There was a gentleman who made a comment about the preface, it was like prefatory,
The preamble
preamble.
in the bylaw, yeah.
Preamble.
That's exactly where this came from.
Yeah, so, which kind of sounded more like, on this day, we do this sort of thing, but it doesn't
Right.
seem that it holds water, right? It doesn't have a legal, there's nothing.
That's the
nothing-
general tenor of what it's supposed to do.
Right.
And he was concerned because, I guess, the preamble that the chairman read wasn't verbatim out of what it says in the bylaw. And so there were like two sets of guidance.
Yeah, but even if you talked about that sort of like
Right.
preambulatory language.
You could unify them. In my mind, you could unify them.
No, I'm saying that they're not actionable, right? They're not,
Not, you have to have a specific reason, like, okay, what are your specifics? What is it that we're
well,
not?
it comes down back to this question that was asked of us, like who's representing us, right? And as if there should be some board that is is enforcing that preamble in a way that doesn't really have any teeth to it.
Right.
Right?
Right. Certainly the planning board are 7 elected officials that are accountable to the electorate. So that's the answer to that one. With respect to those general words that were recited by the chairman, again, what they're doing is proceeding in a way that applies all of the known standards and all of the known rules and laws. So where are we?
Right.
Where have we gone awry with respect to those general statements?
Yeah. My only concern is that, you know, we have this letter from the lawyer for the developer, and I guess that my only question is, I don't want this to be the last word that is guiding our decision. It isn't. And that's why that's the only question I have is, do you need some sort of like statement of like, from the attorney that it may not be long, but
We want our attorney to look at that and make sure that there's nothing in there that she disagrees with.
that's kind of, okay, and that is a
Right.
cost, but not a significant.
Not a significant cost.
Yeah, okay, I just want this to not be
Right.
the last.
Because a lot of the things in there, she's actually said herself. So I think it would be pretty quick.
And I also don't want anyone to perceive this letter as being
Controlling.
Our last position.
our
Right.
view of
Yep.
this, that we are not advocating for the project
Right.
in any way by, okay. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so then the question you will ask of the attorney is what?
Is there anything in the letter that was written by the proponent's attorney that you disagree with?
Okay, thank you.
Now, do we have to vote on that, or is it just a given?
I mean, it's not as large of a lift as the other topic we were talking about. I think it's more about the due diligence that council is doing with respect to the project for the phase that we're in now.
Okay. All right, so moving on. Entertain a motion to ratify the chairman's approval of the closure of Centennial Grove parking lot for 1 week, beginning today, 13th of April, to accommodate the parking lot work that's being done.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Entertain a motion to consider the possible stockpiling of recycled asphalt at 30 Apple Street.
So moved.
Second, I would like to talk about this. So, thank you for answering my questions about the wrap and that it's not toxic according to the DEP.
It's not prohibited
Yeah.
in the area that we would like to put it, maybe.
But I have to say that I remember when we bought this land, it is an asset, right? And I told you, I don't like putting dirty on top of clean. So I would like to, I'm not in support of this. I think that the town should try to find some space at the dump, at the transfer station. And I would like to maintain the integrity of 30 Apple Street, just because this is the town's asset. We've already put snow there, and there's still debris that has to be cleaned up. I just don't want this to become an extension of the dump. It isn't. It is a nice piece of property that we're going to use for a road to get to the dump, but then we're going to have to make a decision about what to do with it. And so I would like to just maintain the integrity of what we have now and not.
So anything that leaches out of the wrap is gonna go in the direction of the river. It's not gonna go into the fields. So the fields are gonna remain clean. And the river itself, as was stated, is there's so much asphalt, stormwater draining off into the river, that this amount of leaching pollutant, if you want to call it that, is going to be minuscule if any of it ever reaches there, reaches to the river. So I don't see it as being a significant issue, and I don't see it being an issue at all for 30 Apple, for the bulk of 30 Apple, only from the road over towards the river.
I hear you. I just think find a place at the transfer station.
But they don't need it there. don't want it there. I mean, it could
They
be
want to use
sold.
it to top the dirt road.
Yeah, they could sell it or give it away or whatever you
You could
do
give it
with
away.
Yeah,
Right now, the work that's being done this week, they're taking it up from the parking lot and leaving it in a corner until they understand where it's gonna go next.
It's a tough one, because, I mean, we've been talking about putting the road in. Yes, it would be great just if we could do gravel and have, but I'm afraid these trucks are heavy. And if the bridge ever was out, whether it was for construction, whether it was for something, I wouldn't want all of a sudden our vehicles, whether it's fire trucks, whether it's,
it'll cost more to not have the wrap, because the wrap is free, and you'd have to put thicker course of gravel on top of it all. So it's a cost issue, really, and we have that in hand right now to use if we want to, but if we're concerned about, the negatives of the wrap, then,
The question is the possible stockpiling. That's the only thing that's before us.
but it's
Well,
stockpiling it into an area so that it can be
Yeah,
used.
they
for the
wouldn't
road.
move it there unless it's gonna be used for the road.
Yeah, I'm not interested in wrap.
Okay, so,
so we considered it, can we move on?
Well, you
You got to vote on it.
gotta vote on it.
all right, so I'm going to entertain a motion to,
So you have that, it's made and seconded, now
Okay.
it's just, yep.
all those in favor?
I'll go with an aye.
Aye. Nay?
Nay.
Motion carries.
Means that the
Stockpile.
material will be going to that site.
Don't do it till town meeting.
Town meeting votes on it. Right?
Not the move.
No, not the move, but on the road.
if the town meeting doesn't vote to do
The road.
cost of the road, the other costs,
Yeah,
now you moved it there, and then what do you do?
yeah, no, you gotta get rid of it.
Which,
Well, we don't
I
have to
mean,
move
it doesn't
right
say what
away.
date, so we could,
Yeah, we
you
don't have
could
to
hold,
move it before town meeting.
just has to be moved
They're
before
not
June
gonna
8th.
be, they're not gonna be building the road before town meeting, that's.
No,
Right.
it's still too wet.
He could pile it up where it is.
Well, do you want to amend your motion?
Okay, I'm going to amend the motion regarding the consider of the stockpile recycle asphalt product over to 30 Apple Street, post-town meeting.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay?
I'm confused. Sorry.
They still want to move it, Annie, but not until after town meeting determines whether the other costs that are necessary to build the road are going to be funded. Because if they put the wrap there before the other costs are funded, and then they don't get funded, now the wrap is on that property, but they don't have what they need to build the road.
I'm going to abstain.
Abstain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I have that with the amendment.
Okay, so the next thing is to ratify the town administrator's approval. I'm going to entertain a motion to ratify the town administrator's approval of a building permit application for new windows for 25 Middle Road, map 108, lot 51. And I'm sorry, I was supposed to read this.
Yes.
Did I mean anything? Okay, I, Alvin Gaharo, Board of Selectmen Chair, move to ratify the town administrator's approval of a building permit application for new windows at 25 Middle Road, map 108, lot 51, suggest to all terms and conditions of the land lease for said premise, including not limited to Articles 5 and Articles 9.
So moved.
Someone so moves and seconds.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Before I move to the next one, I just want to make sure, we don't need anything else. This is the insurance thing for the 30 Apple
We
Street.
don't need anything
flower.
else.
Perfect, we're all, it's all full now. Thank you, dear. Okay, moving on down. Can I just tell you, it said read statement, and I didn't read statement. Okay, Entertain a motion to ratify the chairman's signature of a letter of support for Congressman Moulton's efforts to obtain additional funding to complete the dredging of the Essex River via federal legislation earmarked community project funding.
So moved.
Second.
How's that looking? Is he?
It's looking pretty good. I mean, as I think I pointed out by email, we also had applied for another project, some more water main work, and that did not make it to the next round, but
right.
the one that he's really backing and really helping did, and that's for substantially more money, so.
Yep.
All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Okay, next item. Take a motion to ratify the chairman's signature of a letter of support to Town Green's application to the Eco One Stop Environment Grant Portal to set up an informational clearinghouse and a summit related to Town Green's Cape Ann March initiative.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And entertain a motion to ratify the chairman's signature on a letter of support for the Ipswich River Watershed Association, PIE-Rivers, partnership application to the Massachusetts Division of Ecological Restoration's DER Partnership Grant Program.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, entertain a motion to approve a request to rent the Centennial Grove Pavilion on Saturday, June 13th, between the hours of 1 a.m. and 5 p.m. for a wedding. Do we want to amend that to say, are we going to try and get the movie people to okay it?
Yeah, and it's gonna happen regardless of the movie
Because we had this request
occupancy,
first.
correct.
Okay,
So moved.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Entertain a motion to approve a request for rent of the pavilion at Centennial Grove on Saturday, September 19th, between the hours of 12 noon and 4.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Entertain a motion to request to rent Centennial Grove Pavilion on Saturday, October 3rd, for a full-day wedding.
So moved.
Second.
I have a question on this, and it's a full day. Does that mean from 7 a.m. to 11? What's a?
What is
It's just a
the-
different fee.
I know it's a full day, which is the
Yeah.
whole day,
Yeah.
but should we not get times from them?
That's listed the full day is listed, there are certain times
9 to
in the
11 or something.
regulations.
Yeah, 9 to 1 and 1 to 4 or something like that. Remember we did that a couple
Yeah,
of months
the regulations actually say a full day is this, and they didn't ask for different. So whatever it says in the regulations.
Okay. Still would like to know what hours the wedding's
I mean,
going to be.
I'll get them for you.
Because we're going to have to be
anyway.
able to say, you can't go there, there's a wedding happening.
I'll reach out and
I'd
just
appreciate
make
it.
sure.
Can I ask a question about, is the park, I don't remember approving anything that says that the park is closed when there's an event.
It's not.
So,
In fact, the regulations indicate that there'll be concurrent activity in the area.
Okay.
We've never closed it. People use the beach, walk dogs, and people understand that.
okay.
Did we have in the regulations into the night, there's a night rental? So this wedding could go into the night as part of a full day?
I don't think so, no. There are
Only the
but I will
5
get you the information, but there are prescribed hours, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not in the night.
And nobody can ever rent it at night?
Unless by special permission, I think the ALS over ALS or whatever, and they bring in lighting and
Yeah.
security, and so it's a case by case at that point.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Entertain a motion to consider the approval of an amendment to the interagency municipal aid assistance agreement between the town and the Northeast Massachusetts Law Enforcement Council, known as NEMLAC, to correct a typo error.
And so they're asking this of all of their members. I did send out the small section that they want to change, and I believe there is a copy, if you so choose, for signature.
Yeah.
Did we so move it
I
yet?
think I signed it, but if
Not
I
yet.
didn't, I'll come in tomorrow and sign it.
What?
I think I signed it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the next item is to review a proposed welcome or onboarding letter for a new Board of Selectmen member.
So
So-
moved? Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to know, does this look good? Did you want to add anything?
I think it's
Yeah,
fine.
you sent it to us
Okay,
last week, I think, yeah?
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks good.
So moved?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Brendan, do you want me to, will you send it to Amy, or do you want just?
I'll get
put
it to her, yep.
Okay. Next thing we have, anything in the open meeting not reasonably anticipated? I can't talk.
I don't have anything.
Okay, no. Okay, so consider the town, for this next is appointments, and consider the town moderator's nomination of Dexter Doan to continue his Board of Public Works seat for an additional 3 years, and or determine the board would like to field other candidates.
So move. I have a question though. Was that enough review? Do you need to have more than one person?
Yes, so what I was going to point out is the special act that created the Board of Public Works recommends, or it indicates that the nominating party for a given year, in this case it's the moderator, is to try to find at least two, supposed to give a list of at least two. I did discuss with the moderator whether he had another candidate in mind, and he said he did not. Now, we've had this happen in the past, and I spoke with town council about it, and if a candidate is, if a list of at least two doesn't materialize, it doesn't make the appointment of somebody that was a single person on a list, invalid. What you can do, though, is if you don't think that that's enough candidates, you could certainly, since the selectmen are always the appointing authority, the nominating party switches from year to year. The planning board, the moderator, and in 1 year, the selectmen are actually both the nominating party and the appointing authority.
Go ahead, Annie.
So, a few things about this. I know that last summer we talked about the fact that it's often not, people aren't aware that there is a position open on an appointed committee. And this went real fast, and it didn't give us a chance to put anything online that says, hey, there's appointments for a number of, actually, there's a couple of appointments on the finance committee. There are going to be other boards that have appointed. So I would like to hold off on this, notify the public that here are the openings for the appointed positions on various committees, so that we actually garner some other interest from folks who may not have been traditionally involved in town.
Right.
So
And it's
can we do that?
it's a little different when it comes to the Board of Public Works, and now with the change in the bylaw, even the Finance Committee, because the moderator is supposed to,
Yep.
determine who is nominated. So it comes down to whether the selectmen, once they see what gets put forward, so you do have that in this case so far. If you don't like that as an appointing authority, you could say, well, that's nice, thank you for the list of one, but we would like to field other candidates on our own. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. With respect to the Finance Committee, I think you need to first talk to the moderator about his notion of what he's going to do
Yeah.
when that time comes. This one, though, you're already there, and you either like what you got or you don't, and you could put that out on the website and advertise it if you're looking for more people.
I don't think it's about liking or not. I just feel like we did discuss an openness to say, these appointments are available to people, and I think it does a disservice to everyone when you don't advertise that there's an opening. And I think, I did call Jeff today and tell him that I was going to say this.
And I agree when it comes to a board or committee that is not specifically prescribed. Because you have to go through that process before you can get to alternatives. More generally, though, for boards and committees that don't have any of that language, I agree, and that's what we've been doing. You get these specific ones, though, and you have to go through the process.
Can you speak to Jeff? I mean,
Yeah.
about, I don't know how anybody else feels, but I do feel like it's a fairness thing.
So what would you like me to say to
I
him?
mean, it's up to you guys, but.
So it is a matter of, I mean, it's not a matter of whether I like or dislike somebody.
I didn't mean that. I'm like, do you,
I know,
are you-
but it's a matter of,
Did we get enough
Right.
options?
did we get an option? So
Yeah.
yes.
And I don't think we did. I
Or
thought
at
it was
least
too
be
bang,
able to
bang.
come up, and say,
He may be the best option, but we don't know.
And I think it's wonderful that he is willing to serve, because
correct,
it's
I'm
a
happy
yeoman's
that he's
work.
willing to
Right.
serve.
But I do think it's good
But
to
it
have.
also takes a certain person, as you see, that it takes somebody who can understand some of these things, so usually somebody in construction or
Yeah.
something.
So I could A, ask the moderator whether he would wants to reconsider fielding additional candidates, or B, or both, I guess. B, I could say to the moderator, if you're not interested in doing that, the selectmen are going to attempt to field additional candidates so that they can look at a wider pool of candidates.
I would like to ask him if he would do that.
I'm fine with that.
Thank you. And Dexter is on this committee until June 30, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And then, do we know I know Finance Committee has other but what other appointed committees may have,
Conservation Commission will have some openings, Open Space Committee, there's a whole variety of them.
Next month, I'm sending out letters to virtually every
Yeah,
committee.
you'll see,
department.
yeah.
There are
And
people
then that-
resigning?
No, people up for reelection or reappointment.
Oh, okay.
What normally happens, and maybe you want to change this, what normally happens is Pam addresses the chair and says, are the people that the seats are up willing to serve again? And that answer comes back. But if you would rather also consider other applicants or other candidates, that's something we need to build into the process now.
yeah, I think I thought that's what we agreed to last
We
year.
did, well, we did, and so this is the time now to determine whether you want us to play it a little bit differently, and it
Yeah, I
sounds.
mean, maybe phrase it like, this seat is, your term ends, are you still interested in,
Being considered.
thank you.
Yeah, it goes to the chairman of each,
Board or committee.
And it just so you and anybody in the public that listens to this, you go to every one of their pages. I mean, I look at pages to see who's up,
Yeah.
to see who's
Well,
up.
it's easy. We could simply say, do it the way we usually do it, but then add a sentence that says, please realize that the selectmen may also be fielding other candidates for this position.
Yeah.
Then everyone's notified, you do your process, we put everything that's open, Pam, up on that webpage, and when that closes out, if you have other people, great. If you don't, then you can consider the people that are willing to continue.
That's great, thank
Okay,
you.
let's go through some reminders. So, the planning board will hold a public hearing concerning the zoning bylaw proposals for annual town meeting in the Town Hall Auditorium on Wednesday, April 15th, 2026 at 7 PM. Next, we have a continued planning board public hearing concerning the preserves at Essex, open space residential development at Town Hall on Wednesday, the 15th at 7 PM.
I will be not attending either of those. I have a Ipswich River Watershed Board meeting.
Next, we have on April 16th at 6 PM on Zoom, an open space and recreation plan update committee, and it includes the Zoom link. On April 16th, 2026 at 6 PM at the Essex Elementary School, regarding the Essex Elementary School project, the cost update and question and answer.
So is that a public hearing? What is
No, it's
this?
just a community forum, it's a forum.
Neither one of those are. They're both just forums for
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, so it's just like the other ones, but it's been.
With a different
for-
focus.
With budget as the
Yeah.
issue.
Okay, and the next regular Board of Selectmen meeting will take place on Monday, April 27th, 2026, at 6 PM in the third floor auditorium on Town Hall. And then April 30th, from 7:30 in the second floor conference room of the Town Hall on Martin Street, attend the quarterly condition meeting for Greater Cape Ann Chamber. Sorry, I said 7:30, it's 7:30 AM.
AM, and this is the one where these meetings usually happen without a quorum of the board present. This meeting has been pulled together with a quorum of the board because you wanted more information on what the chamber was thinking about for the downtown
Visioning?
vision, yes.
And they haven't reset the date on that.
No, only that we have this next kind of planning meeting, yes. There's no date for the actual visioning session.
I make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.